They're doing great job, their service.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Bhajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Bhajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Harekrishna. So today I'd like to read from the second chapter of BhagavadGita as it is. A translation and commentary by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. This is text 40 of chapter 2. This verse tells how even a little bit of advancement in Krishna consciousness can protect us from the greatest fear. And with our pandemic threatening, there's a lot of fear in people's minds. But Krishna consciousness can protect us from that. And I'll read this and also refer to some other verses from the Shastra that describe this. So some of you may know this verse. Neha Vikramanashosti Pratyavayo Navidyate Svalpamapyasya Dharmasya Trayate Mahato Bayat. In this endeavor of Krishna consciousness, there is no loss or diminution. And a little advancement on this path can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Activity in Krishna consciousness, or acting for the benefit of Krishna without expectation of sense gratification, is the highest transcendental quality of work. Even a small beginning of such activity finds no impediment, nor can that small beginning be lost at any stage. Any work begun on the material plane has to be completed, otherwise the whole attempt becomes a failure. But any work begun in Krishna consciousness has a permanent effect, even though not finished. The performer of such work is therefore not at a loss, even if his work in Krishna consciousness is incomplete. 1% done in Krishna consciousness bears permanent results, so that the next beginning is from the point of 2%. Whereas in material activity, without 100% success, there is no profit. A Jamil performed his duty in some percentage of Krishna consciousness, but the result he enjoyed at the end was 100% by the grace of the Lord. There is a nice verse in this connection in Srimad Bhagavatam 1.5.17. Chakva swadharmam chadanam bhujang hare bhajan hapakpo tapati tato yadi yatra kvava bhadnhamabura mushikim kovarta apto abhujatam swadharmataha. If someone gives up his occupational duties and works in Krishna consciousness and then falls down on account of not completing his work, what loss is there on his part? And what can one gain if one performs his material activities perfectly? Or as the Christians say, what profiteth a man if he gain the whole world, yet suffer the loss of his eternal soul? Material activities and their results end with the body. But work in Krishna consciousness carries a person again to Krishna consciousness, even after the loss of the body. At least one is sure to have a chance in the next life of being born again as a human being, either in the family of a great cultured Brahmin or in a rich aristocratic family that will give one a further chance for elevation. That is the unique quality of work done in Krishna consciousness. Om jnana timarandasya jnanandana shalakaya chakshu unmidatam mena tasmai shri gurave namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, but my spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. So, in the course of our material life, we find so many effects of the material energy that may give us trepidation here, exaltation over there. There's positive and negative. But we're always kind of under the threat of these, what Prabhupada taught us was the threefold miseries. The threefold miseries are adhyatmic, adidaivik, adibhautik. Adhyatmic miseries, as you get older, you get direct experience of these. We all have them, but it kind of becomes chronic. And that is that your body or your mind is itself giving you trouble. Because the first thing we learn in Krishna consciousness is that you're not the body, you're the spirit soul. So the body is designed to carry out your will. If I want to do something with this hand, I don't think twice about it, it just does it. But at a certain point, it may not be working so well. Just like now I have the problem with my foot. There's such circulation or something there. And I find that sometimes, I'm limping, there's some pain there. And when you're younger, you say, well, it'll go away. But when you get older, sometimes things don't go away. Or they go away a little bit and then come back stronger. So this is the nature of life in this material world, is that you have adhyatmic miseries, and there's unlimited variety of problems with the body or the mind or the intelligence or whatever. And then there's adidaivik miseries, which are caused, what they call, the insurance company will call, an act of God. You're insured for everything but an act of God. If the flood comes, or if there's a tsunami out here and you're sorry, that's an act of God. In other words, the material nature, under the laws or the prompting of the different demigods, higher forces, higher powers, can cause us tremendous suffering. All of a sudden, you're going along very nicely. Here we are on the beach, and it could be an earthquake just a mile offshore, and cause a big tsunami, and suddenly the water is up 3 feet high in Grand Avenue. Right? Could happen. When I first moved here, I moved from Miami. I lived there for 6 years. I was working on Srimad Bhagavatam, working as an editor, putting out the final 10th, 11th, and 12th cantos of Bhagavatam, helping complete that. So we had our production line set up in what was a hotel. It was a temple. We had bought it, and there was a temple right on the beach, on Miami Beach. Well, that's an ideal spot. I mean, people like to retire there, but it's also the place where all the hurricanes come. So from July through October, you'd be watching that weather report very carefully to see if these hurricanes are building. Well, luckily, while I was there, they didn't hit. One didn't hit. The year after I moved here, there was a big one that hit there. But when I moved here, then I looked up, where is that San Andreas Fault anyway? Where is it coming? And they say, oh, well, this is lucky. It's a little bit east of me, and it comes all the way down. But in other words, you have another. There's always something. I'll move to the Midwest, Oklahoma. Tornadoes. They're famous for tornadoes. So you have the adidaivic, and then you have the adibautic miseries. Now, one or more of these is always threatening you, or you're actually suffering from them. This is the nature of material life, right? The adibautic miseries are caused by other living beings, often other human beings, or they could be insects, or they could be animals, or anything. This is oftentimes a big source of pain and suffering. So, either suffering them or the threat of them coming causes anxiety in the heart. Because, as Srila Prabhupada mentions in a different place, that a fear is caused by the bodily concept of life. He would always quote this one verse from the 11th canto, spoken by these great yogis who were the sons of King Bharat. He had 100 sons, 9 of which became the 9 yogendras. They completely renounced, and they would travel everywhere in different part of the universe, and they would give instructions wherever they came. So with this great king Nimi, very pious king, and so they visited him, and one after another, they gave 9 very nice lessons. And the first one was, how can one overcome fear? So first you have to figure out, well, what's the source of fear? So near the beginning of instructions, he says, bhayam, vritiyabhanaveshitak syad, Ishad apetasya viparhiyo asmriti. Tanmahayato buddha abhajetam bhaktyayakayesham guru devatatma. This is a very rich and important verse. So bhayam, fear, arises when we become absorbed. Our consciousness becomes absorbed in called vitya. Vitya means the dualities of this world. Or it means Krishna's material energy, right? We know that everything that exists is Krishna's energy, or his direct expansions. We're his energy. We learn this in the 7th chapter. We're called the para prakriti, the superior energy. But all of this, earth, water, fire, air, ether, solid matter, all of the gases, all of the lights, all of that is part of Krishna's lower energy, apara prakriti, right? So when we become absorbed in this apara prakriti, and we try to dominate it and enjoy it, that's the source of fear. Dvitiya abhinaveshita, we become absorbed, and isha rapetasya, we turn away from the isha. We turn away from Krishna, turn our back. We know that's an offense, right? Well, this is our original offense, or as they say, the original sin. So we turn our back on Krishna, isha rapetasya, viparyayo asmati, and our whole orientation becomes reversed, backwards. Instead of being in our natural constitutional position, our swarupa, as servants of God, servants of Krishna, we become his competitors. We're trying to dominate and enjoy. Krishna is by nature the supreme enjoyer. Right? That's his nature. But we're trying to usurp that. That's what it means to be in Maya. So, and from that asmati, we forget everything about our actual position, and we become lords and masters of this world. Of course, it's actually a great illusion. We can't really control this world. And so, life after life, we are battered around by the material energy. Birth and death, old age, birth, old age, disease, and death. So this is the source of great fear, because we've lost our place at the lotus feet of Krishna. Remember that song, Bhajahore Manashi Nandanandana Habaya Charanara Vindade. O wretched foolish mind, just give up all deceit and worship Krishna's fearless lotus feet. Don't waste this human life. Stay close to devotees and cross this worldly ocean full of miseries. I've made it into a little English poem, the song. So that's very good advice, is that our place of safety is at the lotus feet of Krishna, meaning that in complete consciousness that we're the servants of God, and that our safest place is in that position, and it's also the place of the greatest happiness too. It's a grand illusion to try to become independent from Krishna. It's not possible. Every breath we take is dependent on higher forces which are controlled by God. It's a great illusion to think we can control material energy. So the beginning of bhakti is understanding that principle and taking steps to revive ourselves, our position as servants of Krishna. So the verse goes on. Tanmayato. This is all brought about by Krishna's Maya energy, right? His illusory energy. So the Buddha, one who's intelligent, abhajetam, worships that same Isha, that same Lord that you turned away from and you competed from. In other words, there's no other solution. There's no other recourse but to reverse our position, reform our consciousness with the aid of three helpers. Krishna never abandons us. But we have to take advantage of those three helpers. This is described in the Chaitanya Charitamrita by Lord Chaitanya. The three helpers are the Lord himself in our heart as the super soul. He's always giving us good instruction, but we refuse to hear it. But he helps. He gives us remembrance and forgetfulness and intelligence. So, also the guru from outside. We can't hear the super soul speaking inside. So Krishna is so kind, he comes outside in the form of the preceptor. The guru, the sadhus, it really should be plural, gurus. We may have a initiating spiritual master, as we all do who get initiated in ISKCON. But we also have so many other instructors who are helping us. And, of course, in the form of the Shastra. It's Krishna's words that we speak. Even if we're reading BhagavadGita, of course, as Krishna's words, but the words from in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Bhagavatam is also written by Krishna in the form of Vyasadeva. He's also an incarnation. And when Srila Prabhupada writes his purports, he's referring to Baladev Vidyabhushan, going back. In other words, it's all coming down from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and from Krishna directly. So we're reading, Krishna comes outside in the form of the preceptors, and inside in the form of the spiritual mass, of the super soul, and also as the Shastra. So with all of this help, if we take advantage of it, then we can we can transcend the fearful situation. Now this is extremely practical knowledge, because sometimes there are great threats, just like this coronavirus thing is freaking everybody out, right? Because it's suddenly just appeared from apparently nowhere. And now, my God, what's going to happen in Gaur Purnima? Are people going to be afraid to assemble in the temple by that time? It's only 2 weeks away. I mean, it's affecting us, right? And there's so many other things to be fearful of. But I like to think of like Krishna's Leela. That's why it's so nice to read Krishna's pastimes. They're very instructive. And, woven in, there's so much philosophy. All of a sudden there's wonderful prayers of the Nagapatnis, or the residents of Vrindavan are praying to Krishna. I was thinking somehow today, of course, Kaliya was a big threat. Remember Kaliya? Kaliya was a big serpent, multi-hooded serpent with poisonous venom, and he took shelter of a lake within the Yamuna. He was chased there by Garuda. Garuda couldn't come there for one reason. I won't get into all the details. So he was taking shelter there. But he was contaminating the whole area there. So with poison fumes, the birds would fly over and they would die, and all the trees were dead except one tree. And so the boys went to drink water and they all died on the bank. Krishna glanced at them, brought them back to life. But it was horrible. So Krishna, he didn't just go in there and kill Kaliya. It was a whole pastime. To draw out, when you study Krishna's Braja Leela, he's always drawing out an intense emotional relationship from his servants there, from the parents, and those on the level of parents, his friends, the gopis, all the cows. They so much love Krishna that if they don't see him for a little bit, they become in great anxiety. So he goes into this lake. Krishna dives in there fearlessly, and you have to always remember, they don't know he's God. They just love him. He's covering his divinity, see, because they bring out the rasa. So he dives in, and he swims around, challenges Kaliya, and Kaliya says, "Who is this?" He raises under the tower. You can imagine like a big dragon with hundreds of hoods, spitting fire, looking at Krishna. Who's this? He grabs him, and he holds him in one of those coils, and Krishna just stays there still. And meanwhile, there's bad omens in Vrindavan, and all of the parents and the elders come and they follow his footprints to the lake, to the river, and then they see him. Mother Yashoda faints. They want to go into the lake. Balaram realizes there's no danger, so he stops them. And then for 3 hours, he's in that coils, you know. And then Prabhupada writes, and when he sees they're almost on the point of death from this anxiety, he's drawn out the last drop of the love and anxiety from him. He breaks free, starts dancing on the tops of those hoods, and then all the dozens of hours of the heaven, they're throwing down flowers, playing drums, accompanying them. Like that. Now, the reason I bring this up is because one is that the great advanced devotees, they're afraid mostly for Krishna, you know, because he's being conquered by these, or being threatened by these demons. But sometimes they're also afraid for themselves, because what happens is after this whole pastime, and he doesn't really kill Kali because his wives come and offer these wonderful prayers, and so and Kali also surrenders, so he spares him, and then they go off. He has to leave the lake and everything. So then they come out, but it's late in the afternoon, so they all take rest on the bank. And what happens? Big forest fire comes, you know. So what do the residents do? You know, they only know one thing. They call out to Krishna with great, you know, save us, Krishna. This is not Maya. This is the bhakti, you know, for them. And what is it? Krishna swallows the fire up, you know. So what I'm getting at here, that this is a practical instruction for us. Because when these fearful situations come, our best recourse to transcend the fear, to feel that fear drain away, is to chant very sincerely the holy name of Krishna. This is really what how we should chant, with great anxiety and great eagerness. Krishna, please engage me in your service. Krishna, please give me fearlessness in this fearful situation. Let me transcend the material world. Because the source of fear is the bodily identification. We're identifying with this body, which is very fragile and can be destroyed or injured at any time. But if we can transcend that identification with the body and understand ourselves really substantially, that we're souls, that we're pure spirit, which is indestructible, can't be burned, can't be hurt, right? Right in the second chapter we read that. Then we can feel that sense of fearlessness, even in the greatest danger. And after all, let's face it, our greatest test, the greatest fearful danger is at the time of death. That's when everything, you know, collapses, all our strategies for survival, and it's the end time. Then, whatever we have cultivated in Krishna consciousness during our life, then hopefully we can think of Krishna at that point. That's the final exam. And if we think of Krishna, then we go to Krishna. He says, Antakale chamameva smaran mukpa kalevaram yak priyati saman bhavam yasi natyatra sanshaya. This is an essential verse in the 8th chapter. Krishna is giving in 3 verses the essential process of devotional service. He begins with this verse, then he gives the general principle. Here he's saying at the end time, when the body expires, the time of death, one who remembers me will certainly come to me. Antakale mama smaran mukpa kalevaram yak priyati saman bhavam, they attain to my nature. Of this is no doubt. Then the general principle, which people don't know, you know, yang vapi smarang bhavam chajachante kalevaram tam tame vaiti konteya sadatad bhava bhavita. That whatever you happen to remember at that time, that will determine your next life. Now people don't know that. They're thinking of all kinds of things. There's all kinds of things that have nothing to do with Krishna. They're just absorbing their mind in all these things, sometimes becoming greatly disturbed, sometimes thinking they're enjoying, like this. But the mind is full of unlimited impressions. And who knows what they're going to be. Some crazy video game you watched, a movie, you know, who knows? You know, it's tragic really, because the chances are you're going to lose this human form of life. You know, that's also, Nunam pamatta kuradevi karma, Rishabdev says it's certainly crazy. He uses the word pramatta. Those who are simply trying to please their senses. Indriya pritaya apranoti. Indriya priti exactly translates as sense gratification. He says, nasaru manye, it's not a very good idea. Yata atmanoyam asannapi klesha da asadeya, because you're sure to get another material body which give you klesha, more misery. So that sense gratification, that little maya sukhaya, illusory happiness, which comes and goes in a few minutes, for that, that's the positive side. The negative side is a whole new body to suffer birth, old age, disease, and death. I like to point out that, the sense gratification, there's no denying there's some pleasure there, but it's a little bit of flickering pleasure and a whole mountain of pain that you're buying with it. It's a very bad investment. You see what I'm saying? Whereas devotional service, and let's face it, the austerities have been minimized by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his followers. No big sacrifices. We don't have to go to the Himalayas. Yes, okay, try to fast twice a month. If you can't fast, that's okay. Just don't eat any grains and beans. The Prabhupada made it very simple. But you have to, give up the sinful activities. It's possible if you can do it. If you get the spiritual strength and you get the higher taste from Krishna consciousness. I mean, I wasn't raised in a devotee family. I was raised as a total atheist, a communist, literally. I don't get into that wonderful part of my life. My father, there's a book, there's a Bible for the communists. It's called Das Kapital, written in German by Karl Marx. I don't know if that, So he would take that out of the closet in the evening, most evenings, maybe I was 12, 13, 14, like that. And we'd sit at the kitchen table and he would read for me from this Das Kapital book. Training me up. Total atheism. Religion is the opium of the people. This is one of his famous sayings. Have you ever heard it? It's just, something that the rulers try to do to keep you pacified. That was his view of religion. So this is my background. But by great fortune, by Krishna's will, by Prabhupada's mercy, I came in touch with Krishna, started chanting this Hare Krishna mantra. And I was blessedly in a very confused part of my life. I needed some shelter. And there were all these blissful devotees living in Brooklyn at that time. We had a beautiful center there. There must have been 100 devotees. Many of them were highly qualified. The artists who paint these paintings, you can see how together they are. They're very wonderful. Many of them I knew personally from there. They were all there because the press was there. That's where I started my press work, as Giridhari was saying, proofreading and editing. So, and all of the nonsense that I was doing, gradually I would never think of doing it anymore. By Prabhupada's mercy, he set up the environment, the ashram and the temple, and beautiful deities, Radha Govinda. I don't know if you've ever seen, maybe pictures. They're in Brooklyn. They've been there for years now. Nice temple. And so I changed my focus. And I can remember, I used to be depressed, anxious, just growing up in the 60s. You can imagine all that war, civil rights, the turmoil, the drugs, this and that. I was never really happy. And then after joining Hare Krishna and chanting regularly, and being with the devotees, I just, it was difficult at first, but there's a certain routine once you get into it and you're able to train up in it. So we should take it seriously. What I'm saying is that this is the source of our solace in troubled times. We should take shelter of Krishna, call out to Him from the bottom of our hearts, because we know that He's in control of everything, and that He can give us a place of peace and happiness even in the greatest turmoil. Because that's really what when He comes, what do we read about in the Krishna book, in the 10th canto? There's Vrindavan, the ideal place, but there's also all those demons coming, right? In other words, this is the nature of this material world. There are always difficulties, there are always enemies of devotees, and time itself, your own body, ultimately becomes an adversary. So what is our plan? What is our solace, our security? It's Krishna's lotus feet, and that will that's so much taught in the BhagavadGita. How can Vita Raga Bhaya Krodha? We hear these phrases, Vita Raga Bhaya Krodha. By giving up raga, you can give up fear, and you can give up anger. By giving up anger and fear and all these different things, we can attain peace. There's many the basic principle is vihaya kamanyak sarvan. By diminishing our material desires and increasing our desire to serve Krishna, we become naturally peaceful at heart. Because that sense of anxiety comes when we're so absorbed in trying to please the senses of this body, compete with others, and then we become absorbed in the material energy. And that's the source of fear. Because the material energy is not our friend. She's here to punish us, to teach you that this isn't our home. So we can take that lesson and find our home in Krishna consciousness. And this temple is a wonderful place to meet, glorify Krishna. Now the wonderful Gaur Purnima festival is coming up. I actually joined around Gaur Purnima in 1973. That was it wasn't like I met the devotees and immediately joined. I had a job, I had a little apartment, I had a car, I had a little bank account, and that was supposedly my security, right? But I made the big mistake of always chanting Hare Krishna in the morning and feeling the nectar, and then I became dissatisfied with my job and my little apartment and everything. And Krishna destroyed it all, Just like Prabhupada tells the story of his own life, how he identified with this verse, this one, Yasyaham anugunnami harishe tadnanang shanai. This is the verse that Krishna speaks to Yudhishthira. And he says something a little startling, but we have to take it in the right way. He says, to those who I show my real mercy, I gradually take away all their wealth. Really? Yes, anugrima harishe tadnanang shanai. And then what the result is that they become alienated, their family doesn't like them anymore because they're poor, and so they become more likely to take shelter of Krishna. But it was like that with me. I didn't have, wife and children. I was just working alone, So it wasn't like that responsibility was there. But I was hanging on. You tend to hang on to your little so-called security. Now Krishna took that away, and then I said, okay, I have to surrender, and I joined the temple. It was the best decision I ever made. I remember the first day, taking out the... is she okay? You all right? You all right? Okay. Taking out the trash and chanting Hare Krishna. As I was taking these big bags of trash out. And my little authority there, who's also a Bhakta Ben, he says, Tom? My name is Thomas. I think you're going to make it, because he's so happily taking out, performing this menial service, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. So that's my experience. I think maybe I had some assets from a previous life. But we should try to make as much advancement in this lifetime as possible. Time is going, time is passing. I see some of my friends from many years ago. You also have white hairs. I used to have some black hairs. I don't think there's any left. That's why I like to shave up more often now. You can't see. But it's everything is temporary. Hare Krishna. So we have so much facility. Prabhupada worked so hard to give us the temple and the deities and the association and the holidays and the festivals. After we have our Gaur Purnima, it's only a few weeks until the Rath Yatra, this little Balboa Rath Yatra. I'm sure you've attended that. It's very nice. And then, of course, the big one in L.A. comes up. And the summer is filled with festivals. No matter what else is happening, Krishna is always there in our heart. And we need to be determined to call upon Him with sincerity for the solace and the safety and the bliss that is there, ready for us. So do we have any questions or comments? Am I going over time? Are we okay? Okay. So maybe I'll give you one of my little poems based on the Shastra. Is that okay? All right. So this is a nice poem. Some of you may not have heard this. This is by Raghunath Das Goswami, one of our great acharyas. I think he was known as the Prayojana Acharya. He's ideal, certainly a great example of renunciation and pure bliss of love of Godhead. So he wrote Stavavali, which is a compendium of many of his works, and within there you'll find this verse describing how he's experiencing the holy name. Now, he's chanting Hare Krishna. Now, as you all know, the word Hare Krishna is actually a chant to Radha and Krishna. Hare is the vocative for Hara, which is the name for the goddess of fortune, or Radharani, which means she who steals away Krishna's mind, his heart, So Hare Krishna. And he's speaking about the glories of the name of Radha and Krishna. He's describing it, comparing him to nectar drinks, different kinds of drinks. Haribol. Ready for the Tulsi Puja, huh? So he says, Radheti nama navasundara siddhu mugdam, Krishneti nama madhurabhadagara dugdham, Savakshanam surabhiraga himena ramyam, Kritvata daiva pibame rasane tradarte. Pibame means, oh tongue, drink, is addressing his tongue here. An excellent fresh nectar drink with endless subtle tastes. Such is the name of Radha, by whom all three worlds are graced. Condensed milk that is wonderfully delicious, thick and sweet. Such is the name of Krishna, in whom all attractions meet. Now mix these drinks, O thirsty tongue, and add the cooling spice of love, a prize the wise will try to buy at any price. And then at every moment, drink this beverage most fine, and make my heart supremely blissful, peaceful, and divine. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Okay, one more, real short one. Okay, this is a verse you've never heard before. I'm confident, unless you've been in one of my other classes where I decided to do. It's written by Bilvamangal Thakur, who wrote the Krishna Karnamrita, but this is not a verse from the Krishna Karnamrita. In this verse, he's describing how little Krishna, who could be very mischievous, as you well know, and steal butter and milk and yogurt and everything, he's throwing a tantrum. And you'll hear why. Nitam, can you give me a beat on that? A little beat, just a beat. Nitam nava nava nitam kena chapitam payakame murari. Nitam nava nava nitam kena chapitam payakame murari. Iti samudhi ulatantam bhumam bhadam namami gopalam. Thank you. Hare Krishna. So what does Krishna say here? Who stole my butter? Who drank my milk? And where can my flute be found? I bow to the cowherd child who shouts these words as he rolls on the ground. Let's try it again. Who stole my butter? Who drank my milk? And where can my flute be found? I bow to the cowherd child who shouts these words as he rolls on the ground. Now, if you learn this, I can give it to all. I'll send it on you. You have to get it. You'll get it from Ramapati, and you can learn it and chant it. You'll find it gives you a real nice jolt of ananda. Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.